Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. This is a podcast series. Why don't we start this over again? Because that really was already a bad start. So,
Okay.
it's Cat's fault.
Oh, that's pretty rude. Set all this up just to be blamed.
Of course. Who else are we going to blame?
That's true.
I can't blame Chris for anything.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Spine Rehab Specialists podcast series. We're on episode number 14, and with me here today is Anthony Durant, clinic manager over at our physician's location, and we're going to talk about posture. So, welcome, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.
So, posture, kind of an interesting subject, I think. I know when we were growing up, all of us have been told at one point, whether it was your mom, your grandma, your aunt, whoever, to sit up straight and use good posture, right? So we all know that we have to have good posture. Of course, we were also told not to go outside with wet hair and that nothing good ever happens after midnight, but not sure those are true. So let's dissect the posture part a little bit. So Anthony, what can you tell me about posture?
Well, basically, it's one of those things that we've heard over and over again, that same rule that kind of, after hearing it hundreds of times, starts to stop having an effect. People stop paying attention to it. But I can tell you right now, posture is probably one of the most important things that we have to remember, because it's basically the starting cause of pain down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And let's just dissect posture a little bit. So posture is the position that you're sitting, standing, laying in, whatever, the position that you're in. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of like the ideal posture. So let's kind of, let's go in sitting, because that's probably what we're talking about the most. So you want to dissect it a little bit, Anthony, on what is, good posture, what are the elements of it?
Sure. So a lot of us, when we're sitting down, tend to push our head forward. We round our upper back, our shoulders kind of collapse forward. Especially more notable if you're like trying to look at your laptop or your computer screen. You kind of move your face closer to the screen to read whatever's on it. So basically the opposite of that. So ideally what you're looking for is you want to be upright. You want to make sure, first of all, that your low back is supported with one of those chairs that have like a lumbar roll or a lumbar support, or if not, it's wise to purchase a lumbar roll. So already fixing the position of your low back will set your shoulders and head position up much better. So then once you have your lumbar secured, or your low back, then the shoulders, you don't want them to be forward either. You just want them to be natural. You don't want to overcorrect and position your shoulders too far back and stick your chest out. Not that. You just want to be where your shoulders are nice and comfortable, in your normal natural position. And then lastly, your head, you don't want it to be poking out forward. You don't want to be the opposite in extreme position either, with your chin tucked all the way, with your head, popping backwards. You just want to be in that middle spot, that neutral position with your head, your shoulders, and then your low back. And then lastly, you just want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor. Sometimes it's easy just to tangle our legs together and shift our weight from side to side, and that's just like a normal thing that happens when you're just always shifting your weight. But ideally, it's this prolonged malpositioning that really gets us in trouble. So if you can just remember those basic things: head position, shoulder position, back position, that's already a pretty good start.
Yeah, I think correcting that, normal lumbar curvature, that low back curvature is probably the biggest start of it. I think if you correct that, you're probably, 3/4 of the way there. And we have to remember, so our head is compared to a bowling ball, your head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds or so. And just imagine grabbing a bowling ball, and if you're holding it straight up, we can actually hold it for quite a while. But if you're having it kind of hang down a little bit, so now with your arm a little bit, further out, that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the muscles to hold up that bowling ball, and all of a sudden you can only hold it for 30 seconds or so. So it's the same with your head. The more forward your head is, the harder it is to hold it up. The more your muscles have to work, the more they're going to start hurting. So it's definitely really looking at that posture, and when you're sitting, make sure you're aligned right. So, let's look a little bit at, add in sitting behind a computer, sitting behind, a screen. what do we have to look at that point?
The sheer amount of time we spend sitting, definitely, I guess now more than ever, with this unique situation that the world has been in, with more of us spending more time on the computer, more time in the office, in the home setting. Definitely that has played a huge role in the number of cases that are coming in through the door for us, with the complaints of, neck pain, shoulder pain. So again, going back to the positioning, and the forward head, rounded shoulders, those kinds of things are contributing to this kind of uptake in neck shoulder pain kind of combo going on. And it all relies on that, when your head's, as you mentioned, is 8 to 10 pounds, 10 to 12 pounds, however the size of your head is, it places a lot of strain on the ligaments behind, tendons and muscles behind our head, and they're essentially overworked. It's like just, working overtime for those structures. And we got to find a way to give them relief, and that's positioning your head to where your body essentially doesn't have to carry a 12-pound bowling ball out front.
Yeah, and we've done office ergonomics. We've gone into to companies and really show them how to sit right, and it's pretty easy to do when you're when you have your normal desktop computer, you have your keyboard and your mouse, they're in the right spot. Hopefully even in a keyboard drawer, well supported. You have your screen that's eye height. Actually, your eyes should be at about 1/3 from the top of the screen. So, because that's typically where you're working at. And that's great in an office situation, right? It's not very, difficult to set it up and just make sure people comply with that. But now the last year and a half or so, a lot of people, and whether this is, students at home or, people working from home, they may not have been in that perfect situation of a desktop, a proper desk and all of that. So people have been working, off of laptops, and that already, violates that whole principle, because you can't really have the screen of the laptop, at eye height and the keyboard of the laptop at hand height, right? So how do we solve that?
There are various things you can try to do. Number one, elevate the laptop. Use a couple of books, put the laptop on. When you can bring the laptop screen up a little bit higher up, so you don't have to necessarily look down at the laptop. That helps. Definitely use a lot of pillows in your chair, pillows in the back, so that it supports your low back, and then pillows on your lap. That way it'll support your arms. It'll keep the weight, instead of reaching for the computer, the pillows will take up the weight of your arms. So you can do these little things. You might have to be creative. Maybe see if you can unplug your keyboard or something like that, to where you can position the keyboard. You maybe use one of those Bluetooth keyboards or something that definitely allows you to put your arms in a better position. Working from standing up, if you have that ability to, work from a higher level, to where you're standing rather than sitting, that's always good. And it's just about being creative. What can you do to transform your home office that will allow you to work more efficiently, but also not suscept you to pain more so at the end of your workday?
Yeah, and I definitely think that's something people just have to, absolutely be aware of how much of a influence that has, on your pain. I was actually reading a research study that's part of the pandemic. I think it was in Spain, where they looked at how much pain kids had, doing, virtual learning, Zoom school as we call it. So that was one thing, and almost everybody had musculoskeletal pain. That was new to them. That was different than what they had before COVID-19. But what was even more striking is that the majority of the kids, but also the parents, were not aware that, the way they held their posture had an influence on those symptoms. So a lot of times it's not even, like, people don't even realize that the way you're sitting, has a relationship with the pain that you're getting. So I think it's very, very important for people to be aware of the fact that how you sit, the position that you put your body in, has a tremendous amount of effect on different musculoskeletal pains. So what kind of pain can somebody get from being in the wrong posture? What have you seen?
You see things like, number one, headaches. A lot of people are reporting headaches. Headaches in this case will kind of radiate from one side of the head, jump to the other side of the head, maybe affect you the back of the head one day, or around the eyes in the front. So this kind of transitional headache pattern. People report some stiffness in the neck. That's usually the first symptom, or trouble turning in one direction or the other direction, looking up or down. And then that stiffness later on will transfer into some type of pain with movement, pain during movement, or when you turn your head all the way, it hurts at the end range there. So you have neck pain, headache pain. You might even develop some shoulder pain. I've heard of that. I've seen that a few times where, because our shoulders are rounded forward and we're like kind of squeezing on a tiny little laptop keyboard, that positions our keyboard and our arms in an awkward position. So people are developing some shoulder pain, wrist pain, so much so that it even will affect back, and what you're kind of familiar with of the term sciatica. So because of the positioning of our back, people are now reporting a little bit more of this sciatic symptom because of the amount of time they spend slouching in the chair. So those are some of the more common problems people are experiencing.
Yeah, and I've even seen some people with hip pain because they're sitting in a totally different position. It's not the ideal 90-90 angle of your knees and hips. So a lot of times people sit kind of scrunched up on the couch, on the sofa, or even on the bed. So that creates hip problems. I think I've seen more, like hand symptoms, kind of carpal tunnel type symptoms from this as well. So it really affects so many different parts of of your body. And we're seeing this really, I think way more than we did before COVID-19. These symptoms related to just being in a different position. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see kids going back to school and going back to playing sports, in school, really as almost like another epidemic of just musculoskeletal pain.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. As a clinician, I've definitely seen more kiddos coming in with that type of pain we just talked about and we just described. Something that my few years of practice, I hadn't seen that many kids coming in for that type of thing. Usually kids come in for twisting their ankle or some type of sport injury, not from learning on the computer. So that's kind of a interesting phenomena this past year that I've seen definitely increase, is just this increase in postural pain that's kind of sweeping through these kiddos. And, hopefully when school starts again, we might see the reverse.
Hopefully, but I think it's going to take some time though. And I think part of it also is, like, in general, people, but definitely kids, have been so much less active too, because that's the other thing is that, in school, they're sitting for whatever, 40 or 50 minutes or so in class, and then they walk to the next class, so they're kind of goofing around, they're walking, but at home they didn't have that. So they were even sitting in those postures even longer. Even the communication was, not in person, talking, but it was texting and everything. So, because we definitely have to look at also how you use your phone or your iPad or anything, outside of work or outside of school, because that plays a role as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of times, when we're looking, we see, people look down so far. I mean, they have the cell phone on their lap, and then they're looking down. Well, that's a horrible posture to sit in. So if you're going to be on your phone, on your iPad or anything, make sure you hold it up as high as you can, almost to eye level. So again, you're not straining your spine as much.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I want to, challenge you guys, our listeners right now. I want you to put a percentage on the amount of time you spend sitting for work and then sitting for your day, your waking hours. So think about it, put a percent, and how much percent of your day is spent sitting down, and then now are you spending that time in good posture or bad posture? And then ask yourself if you have pain.
Yeah, I think it'd be surprising to see that relationship. So, and don't forget, I know we've been focusing on posture and sitting. We also want to look at posture and standing, because you can also stand with good or bad posture. That's another choice that you have. So when you're standing up, make sure you're also standing actively, because one of the things that we have, whether you're sitting or standing, we're combating gravity, right? Gravity is a constant pull that pulls us down towards earth. So we definitely have to be aware of that, even in standing, that you're standing up nice and straight, shoulders back a little bit. So don't hang in your ligaments and everything. So it's easier to have good posture in standing, but it's definitely not just a given, not just a guarantee.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you're going to have to remind yourself, sitting or standing. If you're having a pain, think of it as like a warning. Your body's telling you, hey, you're in a position that I don't like, fix it. That's what pain is. So when we're in a bad posture, whether sitting or standing, and you start to hurt and ache, your body's trying to tell you something.
Yep, definitely. So listen to your body. And definitely if, simply correcting your posture and being a little bit better about it doesn't help, by all means, come see us, give us a call, set up an appointment, come see us, because, we can give you, first of all, probably some basic instructions to help with posture, but also to see what else has developed, because if we have bad posture for a long time, it's going to start creating other issues with muscles being tight, muscles being weak. That doesn't just get reversed with just correcting posture, right?
Yeah, it's a combining effect. I've had this conversation with a few of my patients this week about that exactly. It's not the one time you're at a desk sitting poorly or standing poorly. It's a combining effect of, hundreds of days and of the same thing, of forward head, rounded shoulders and stuff that will add up over time and then create these other types of conditions. And it's very important that, you don't wait for that to happen. You come speak to your therapist, give us a call, and we'll be more than willing to help you and figure out a way to solve your problem.
Yeah, because sometimes just trying to correct posture, that's great and all, but if you don't have the flexibility in your muscles on one end, and on the other end the strengthened muscles to hold yourself up against gravity, well then how can you correct posture and maintain that corrected posture? So, and the funny thing is that if you go to a gym and you work out, you don't necessarily work your postural muscles, because it's just not very impressive work. So a lot of times, even people that go to the gym may end up with pretty weak postural muscles. We've seen that a lot, right?
Yeah, we get the people who come in that look pretty fit, and they have the same problem. It's definitely more skilled. The service that we will provide you, more skilled, more thoughtful, definitely targeting the specific areas that you in particular have.
Yeah, and a good solid physical therapy evaluation would really help with that, because we look at pretty much every muscle that that's relevant, and see if they're weak and tight or not. And I can tell our audience, unless you're a physical therapist, you're probably not going to know. One of the muscles that often is weak in people with these postural issues is the lower trapezius. Try to go to a gym and find a lower trapezius exercise you can do.
That's a good point.
Go to your personal trainer, and they're not even going to know how to do that. Trust me, we do, and we work those muscles, and a lot of times we make muscles sore that people didn't even know they had.
Yeah, it's definitely something skilled, and it's better for our listeners to come talk and find out exactly what the problem is. I mean, you can assume this or assume that, or work out the show off muscles, but if you're not addressing the right ones, then who knows what will happen.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely for our audience, just if you have any kind of problems, come make an appointment with us. Come see. We can do a free consult on you just to find out if there's something that really should be addressed, and if we can address it, we'll gladly help you out with that.
Yeah, give us a call, guys. Just remember, sit up straight.
Absolutely, very much. All right, guys. So I think we delved into this subject of posture pretty good. So thank you, Anthony, for being here with me for this podcast today. Definitely look forward to the next podcast, and we'll keep the subjects interesting. Have a good day.